Good evening, Town of Essex residents. Happy Heritage Week. This year's theme is to seek to explore the lost settlements of Essex. With me tonight is award-winning local historian Chris Carter and recipient of the 2021 Community Heritage Preservation Award.
I am?
Tonight, yes, you are. Chris tonight will be delivering a talk on the Lost Communities of Essex based on his book of local heritage driving tours. As you are going to hear, these lost communities formed around access to railways or where prominent local families built a home. Anchors which have since disappeared, but whose impacts remain visible to those who look a bit closer. So without further ado, I am going to pass over the mic to Chris Carter, who's at my left, who will guide us through the talk and through some of these lost communities. Chris, take it over.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to talk about some of these lost communities in our town. I did write a book about it, but what's important on these is they're the farm communities that got started, or they're the communities that were put there. They went there for a reason. We have some communities on the water. They were pretty much put there because we needed a dock. The roads were not good. There's communities that are on the railroad track. Well, the railroad had to have stops to pick up people and drop off freight. We have one that's not really a community, so I want to mention it now, and that is the Eiler settlement. It's called a settlement. The Eiler family started that area. It's down by the John R. Park Homestead. In fact, maybe we can have the map shown, Rita, of the, there we go. Everybody see that? The bottom right-hand corner as you're looking, you'll see Eiler Settlement. That's where the John R. Park Homestead is. And it was never a town or a hamlet or a community. It's just a settlement of a family. And that makes a bit of a difference, okay? To be whether you want to call it a city, a town, a hamlet, whatever, it has to have a post office. There's no Eiler post office. The post office was in Oxley, which you can see to its left. Okay. We have sawmill towns. That's the only reason they were there. Or you can call them, it comes under like a mining town. We mine trees or sawmills. An industrial town, if you wish. Walkerville was an industrial town, as an example. I'm gonna use this term a little bit loosely, and please take no offense to this, but we have towns because of segregation. And that sometimes good, sometimes bad. Okay, people don't always like that word or that term or all the terms that go with it, but I think it's important. We have towns just because of distance. A stagecoach could go about 20 miles a day, max. And sometimes there was a lot of stops along the way for mail, for picking people up, letting them off, and more importantly, an inn, so that they could spend the night and finish and continue the trip the next morning. So an inn or a tavern, usually every inn had a drinking place right near it. And I'm sure Colchester in the early days was no different. It did become a temperance. Colchester South became a temperance community, non-alcohol. I'll discuss that in a little bit when we get to that community that was definitely affected by that, but not necessarily the reason it started. So you can see the different communities there. I did write my book to make it easier for showing pictures. I'm just going to go through the order that they're in my book, which is not necessarily the order they started or that they're shown on a map. So we'll go through. I'll tell you where they are because this map isn't going to stay up all the time. We have other things to show. And I'll get started right now on the different communities. So the first one we're going to discuss is the black settlements. Now the black settlements of this community, they made up 66% of the population. And I'm talking all of this, I call it the new town of Essex, the amalgamated town. That's what we're talking about. Not Colchester South, not Harrow, not Colchester, not McGregor, none of that as a separate. We're in one town, and that's the way I'm going through this. So the black settlements, again, pretty much segregated. As an example, we had a place called New Canaan. Now you have to remember these people, many of these settlers, if not 99% of them, were former slaves that came to Canada because they found out it was free. In 1812, we had a war. And if you think that the general that was in charge of the battle and the army that came and attacked us didn't have some of his slaves to take care of him with him, you're crazy. They naturally did. So some slaveholders brought their slaves with them into battle, not so much to battle, just to take care of them like they do year round at their places. And they found out Canada was free, a land of freedom. And I'm sure a few of them escaped and stayed, but the word got down in the South real fast that, hey, if you get up to Canada, you'll no longer be a slave, because we abolished slavery in 1792, Simcoe did. That didn't mean we got rid of our slaves. If you had slaves, they were grandfathered in until 1833. So don't think that all the slavery left in 1792, it didn't. But the people that came, the last thing they wanted to be was on the water. And think of the Amherstburg. I know we promote Sandwich a lot, but Amherstburg was actually easier to get to. You could island hop across to the Detroit River to Amherstburg, but also so could the bounty hunters that were chasing you. So what you wanted to do was get inland. And one thing that did happen is, and I neglected to put the map in even this book, but there was a lawyer in Sandwich that bought a chunk of land, marshy land that nobody else wanted. Nobody else would live there. It was a pure marsh area, but he bought a chunk of land, and the people of color, once they got organized in Amherstburg, were sent down a road called the Negro Purchase. And that was the name of the road. And that's why that word's being used, okay? It's not derogatory when you're teaching history. We have to know what was to know what changed and became better, hopefully. So once they were all, spent 2 or 3 days getting settled in Amherstburg, they could possibly have been sent down this pathway to this settlement. The settlement was not New Canaan, which we're talking about, but it was Hopetown. But at the same time, from there, they moved and spread out. Not everybody gets along in one settlement. There's not enough land for everybody. So a place called New Canaan was settled. It's on County Road 12, or the Guestwood Road, if you wish. County Road 15 is a road that goes directly from Harrow straight up to the town of Essex. And so it's not Walker Road. Walker Road veers more towards Windsor. But County Road 15 at County Road 12, if you go to the west side of that intersection, that's New Canaan, between there and Walker Road. Now, New Canaan was a totally black settlement. And again, swamp. Go there in the spring. And when we have our winter runoff, you'll see swamp. All right. Go there in the summer, it dries up somewhat. The fall, very dry. In the summer, even today, swampland. But that's where they settled. That's where they were sort of put. We as white people helped them settle in the spots we didn't want to be in. That's for sure. But they weren't useless people. They were very important, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But at the same time, we needed laborers in the middle of our county, and there was a good group of laborers. They'd done all their life. They knew how to do things. Like I say, we'll discuss that a little bit later. The people that were there, the white folk opened up a community called Gesto. And why was Gesto opened? I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, okay? But New Canaan was a settlement. The Hiram Walker put a train through from Windsor to Harrow, straight down. It almost was right beside Walker Road the whole way. And that became the center of New Canaan. Again, a stop on the railroad. They picked up water, and at New Canaan there was a pond there that the train, as it was going by, sucked up water to help with the steam train. A church was put along beside the tracks. There's a cemetery today beside the tracks. The pond is still there where the train picked up the water for the steam train. There was this, and Rita, if you can put up the picture of the store. I know it's not a great picture, but it's about the best I have. And I'm sure Rita will get it up there. But it's there was a store there in town, closer to Gesto. We had another part of New Canaan. And think of the name, it's New Canaan. There's a store there. New Canaan is from the Bible. They had hope. The people of color were very religious. And you're going to see that in some of the names of the communities. So New Canaan was the land of the free. Follow the Bible and the Christian Bible and their instructions, and you'll learn all about the meaning of New Canaan and why this settlement was called that. Okay, I'm going to continue on, or I'm going to be forever, but basically New Canaan centered around what is now the Chrysler Greenway and the Malden Road, or the Center Road, because we have Malden North, Malden South, and Malden, which is County Road 12. Okay, you can go out there. There's not much to see. You can find the pond. You can find the cemetery. That one's not well marked at all. That one, that's by the train, but you'll get there. When you go towards Gesto, there's not a community there, but Gesto had industry. Gesto's industry was a logging business. That's the only reason Gesto's there. And the people from New Canaan worked the sawmills, worked cutting the trees down. The lumber industry, they could have all the free trees they wanted. The farmers were glad to have the lumber industry, the lumberjacks come in and clear their farms. If you think about a farmer, he might have had a saw and an axe. Some of these trees were 2 and 3 feet across, if not larger. And he got a farm, maybe free, because a lot of them were given out free for services to the government. And you had 200 acres of all trees, which if somebody came in and said, I'll cut your trees down, man, you were happier than heck to have somebody cut them down. Okay, so yes, we will do that. We've just put up the area where the one sawmill community was. You can see Gesto up in the upper right-hand corner, but just by all the addresses, that's the start of Gesto. And you can see County Road 15 at the bottom left-hand side, the road coming straight up. And of course, the one in the middle is Malden Road, or County Road 12. New Canaan would have been off the map to the left. And you can see Gesto the start of Gesto on the right. But in between, there's right along the River Canard. This is River Canard, not Cedar Creek. So it drains towards Amherstburg area, Detroit River. Cedar Creek drains into Lake Erie. You'll see a bit of a dot along there at a major bend, and probably the widest part of the river. You'll see a square. And in that square is the summit, not Gilgal, but the cemetery, there was a church there, a black church. The cemetery is right where the sawmill was. There's about 1,500 people buried in there, in that cemetery. And we have the names of many of them, but not all of them. There's a family that takes care, that has been there for over 100 years on the farm right beside it. And they still take care of that cemetery as if it's a private family cemetery, which is extremely nice. The town is very appreciative of their work. And I'll tell you, you can go there. It's a beautiful place, and you thank the farmer that's living beside it. As you walk down, it's a long lane. You can see it's a fair ways from the road. You have to walk. So you're walking, make sure you're able to walk, but it's definitely worth the effort. There's a very prominent gentleman buried there. He was not the first black lawyer in Canada. He was the third, but he was the first black lawyer to get on King's Council, which is now Queen's Council, as the King and Queen changed. But that's very prestigious. That's the top council for lawyers in Ontario. And so to be in the 1800s and be on there, that's something, and especially if you're a gentleman of color, it's that much more special that they actually accepted him. He wasn't even accepted in the lawyer schools. He had to get sponsored in a special school to get his lawyering papers to do that. And he was from New Canaan. His office was in Amherstburg, but he was a native of New Canaan. And the town's working on fixing that up just a little bit better for us. But I'll tell you, you go there, it's a beautiful walk around that cemetery, and you can walk right down to the river. What's neat about that, at that river, because it was a sawmill town, the river does flow pretty good. It would have flown through a lot better in its day, or the water, but they actually built a road under the water. So if you cross where you're supposed to, you can stay dry, or reasonably dry. It is under the water, but with the road there, you can get through like on a four-wheeler and not sink in the mud, because there's a road built under there. And I'm not even sure if the town knows that, but it's extremely unique. It wasn't a bridge across. They put stones, like big stones and stuff, to build the river, or to build a road across the river, but under the water. Anywhere else you go across there, I guarantee you're going to sink up to your ankles in mud, if not your knees. And of course, you're going to step in and down you go. But if you cross where the road is, you won't sink into the bottom of the river. So it's just some unique thing that's there. You're not going to see it. You can probably find where it is, but it's under the water. And of course, it hasn't been used for since the 1900s, except the early 1900s, except for a few of the locals that know where it is. So it's just something that's unique. Okay, keep in mind if you're going around. The Davis family, they own that property after the sawmill went through. And Guestwood was unique because it had 4 sawmill companies running all at the same time. The Guestwood Camp was a sawmill. I believe it was the Sweets that had that one. That doesn't make it a town, okay? One of the sections of County Road 50 is called the Campbell Side Road because they had a sawmill. There was this sawmill, which I really don't know what the name was of the one we just had, and there was a 4th one. And they were all operating about the 1880s, okay, 50s to 80s. We had to open that land for settlement. They were clearing it. As they were clearing that land, they burned off all the brush, right? All your twigs, your branches. They just wanted the stem, the good stuff. When they were doing that, the people in Chicago saw the fire, not the smoke. They saw the flames. as well as the smoke, all the way from Chicago, when Guestwood was burning, if you wish to call it that. The town, the little community wasn't, obviously, but they were burning so much brush. What is unique about that is, well, one, the people in Chicago thought Fort Detroit was on fire and didn't know if they should send people to help at Detroit, which, as I just told you, Detroit wasn't. There's a song about Mrs. O'Leary burning down her cow, burning down Chicago. Well, we reciprocated. When Chicago was burning, the people in Essex County saw their flames and their fire and their smoke. What is unique is they saw the flames. It was that big a fire. Okay, that's a long way away. I've been there by train. I'm told it's about 4 hours by car. Plus there's a whole lake in between and a whole state. So one, it tells you how flat we are, but it also tells you how high the fire was, because the world's not flat. We proved it's round. Okay, so let's keep going. I've mentioned a lot on there, so I'm not going to spend as much time on a few of the others. Another black settlement is Gilgal. The only thing you'll see left of Gilgal is a cemetery. Gilgal is at Walker Road and Concession 5. That's the bend in Concession 5 on Walker Road, or what we call Walker Road, is the first bend out of Harrow. You leave Harrow, you make a bend at Cargill. If you go straight, instead of taking the bend, you're on County Road 15. And you take the bend, that is Concession 5. As soon as you take the bend to go towards Windsor, and like I say, this is the first big bend out of Harrow on Walker Road. That is Gilgal. You'll see a cemetery. If you're going to Windsor, it'll be on your right-hand side. What you'll also notice is the houses there are very close together. Why? Because it was a settlement. By that cemetery, you had a schoolhouse, and in that schoolhouse, they had their church service and a community center as well. It served all their purposes, that schoolhouse. Okay, what are we showing here? That Gilgal Cemetery. Okay, the town helps maintain it. When we were preserving it, the local said, "What are you doing that for? That's just that N-word cemetery. Who cares?" We sort of taught them a lesson that day, as politely as we could without doing damage. So, anyways, was a very important community at the time. There was a church, like I say, there was a church. It was a pretty dilapidated building in 1881. Hiram Walker was putting his train through. And of course, Hiram Walker had a lot of big VIPs going out towards his hotel in Kingsville. He was very nice. Mr. Davis, who is that lawyer in these New Canaan Cemetery, he worked with Hiram Walker, and he knew him anyways because he was a lawyer. He was a businessman. And Hiram Walker built a brand new school there for the community, and that was very nice. And when Hiram Walker's VIPs went by, they didn't see a rundown building. They saw a beautiful brick building that Hiram Walkers could say, "I built that for their community." Okay, so that was very nice. And of course, that was a stop on the line. You can see the road coming out. While I'm on here, just so you know, where if you take that 15 up where New Canaan is, on your way up there, okay, and Rita, it's okay, Rita, you've got where the Cargill, and I know it's not Cargill anymore, okay, there. All right, right in that area where she's pointing. That was part of the reason the train came through to Harrow before it went to Kingsville, is at that location Hiram Walker had a cranberry marsh. And the superintendent's house is still there today. The boarding house or barracks where the workers stayed were torn down. I moved here in 96, maybe around 2000 they were torn down, 2002. But and unfortunately they were torn down. They didn't know what it was, but his superintendent's house and a fancy looking barn, and that is all still there. I hope it's still there. It was a few years ago. On the marsh, or on the drainage system going through there, Hiram Walker actually changed the direction of the creek that goes through Harrow. He changed it. Instead of, the creek's supposed to run into Lake Erie and Cedar Creek into Lake Erie. You'll notice it runs instead towards Amherstburg. He turned the direction of the water. It takes up, it goes through his marsh. Marsh needs water, and then goes and connects in with Cedar Creek later to go down to the Lake Erie. But the point is, on there was a dam. So if you've been around here, like I say, I only came in '96 and I've seen it a few times. You'd see that piece of land where the Cargill, or the former Cargill fertilizer plant is, right there at the arrow, and all that land right behind it. You can still see the hills that were built in there to so you could flood the Cranberry Marsh. Yeah, and you can also still see the dam was there to flood it. Occasionally, if you went by, you saw all that area around the old Cargill plant. I'm sorry, I don't know the current name of it, but you would see it, and all the field was water. It was like a big lake. Somebody either closed the dam or something jammed the dam up to close the water flow, and it went back and filled the Cranberry Marsh area. So I sort of hope, for historic sake, Rita, that dam is still there. We don't need it closed. We don't want to put that fertilizer plant into underwater again. But I'm sure a few of the locals, the people that have been out here, at least I've seen it at least twice, if not more, since I moved here in '96. I hope you remember seeing it, and now you know why. Okay. But the town of Gilgal, yes, is where the Green Dot Cemetery is. And you can see how there's a little settlement there, right below that, Rita. You can see how there's a settlement with all the little properties, which is not like the farmland around it. So let's keep going. This one, we have an area we call, and you don't need to pull this up if you don't want to, Rita, but Pleasant Valley. Okay, it's at the it's on the 4th concession, just west of the Arner town line. We still call it Pleasant Valley Settlement today. There is a cemetery in there on the 3rd concession, though, because remember, it was centered around the 4th, but the edge of it would have been over at the 3rd concession. In Pleasant Valley, on the 3rd concession, there's a cemetery. And what's unique to the town of Essex and all of Essex County, in all of Essex County, there's at that summit, right beside that cemetery on the 3rd, in the back part of, and the bottom part of, or the south part of Pleasant Valley, which is, like you say, centered on the 4th concession, is a provincial park. It's Cedar Creek Provincial Park is in there. It's the only provincial park in Essex County. And I think that's important to know. How accessible it is, I don't know. You'd have to look up provincial parks on the website, on the Ontario website, and find out about that one. I just thought I'd mention it. Okay, let's go a little bit different. Those are our 3 main Black settlements. There's one more I'm going to discuss in a few minutes. Okay, we'll just hold on to that for a couple more minutes, but we're going to get going here. On the corner, County Road 15 goes up past Hiram Walker's Marsh to concession 8. Concession 8 and a few of the other concessions don't go all the way to Walker Road like they're supposed to. When the concessions were surveyed for our community, they were surveyed from what is now Walker Road all the way over to the Arner. There's the and it's not even Walker Road, it's actually Smith Side Road that it goes to. Some of those concessions, because of the marshy land, did not get all the way through to where you can drive from the Arner. What I'm saying is you can't drive from the Arner all the way on concession 8 and get to Walker Road. Okay, and yeah, if you move your arrow a little, the others, okay, there's concession 8, go towards Walker Road. Okay, see how the road goes? Right there. That road is still there, it's concession 8. It's a beautiful little path. You can get on your bike and get over to the Greenway, which is right at the far end of the map. Right there. Okay, there's the Greenway, but Rita's showing you the concession 8. All right, what happened? Okay, you can move, please go back to the Greenway. What happened? We had a sawmill town in there. It's called Camp Palmer. But if you notice where the Hiram Walker train is, the Greenway, you'll notice where county concession 8 is. Okay, now take your arrow, Rita, straight over to hit the Greenway. Right, nope, not on that. No. Straight over. Go, nope. Go follow concession. There you go. Straight over, right? Take concession 8, draw a line straight over to hit the Greenway. Perfectly straight. There, perfect. Okay, the only railroad track or junction that we know of that came off the Hiram Walker track, the only spur line, I'm sorry, I finally got the right word, spur line, was that it came straight down concession 8, straight down the middle of it. So her arrow comes straight over, straight down concession 8. Now you can keep going, Rita. Right back to where concession 8 is proper. Okay, yep, way over. You're doing great. Okay, there we go. So now we're on, see concession 8, we're on concession 8. So if we go down a little bit, keep going, under where you've got me sitting. Nope, I'm sorry, east on concession 8. You just crossed 15. There we go. Now in there, you will find Camp Palmer. It was called Barrettville. It was a sawmill town. Okay, you'll also notice it's reasonably close to Guestwood, the community. And we don't need to go there, but there's a sawmill town in there. In fact, it's probably almost right. It's just a little bit east of where you're at. And most of the sawmill buildings are there. The actual industrial buildings are still there. One person pretty much owns all of Barrettville, or it was called Barrettville or Camp Palmer, depending on who owned it at the time. And like I say, most of the communities are there. There's a map on that. I sent you on Camp Palmer. That'll help a little bit more. Well, as Rita brings it up, we'll talk about a couple other little places we have in the area. Can you find it, Rita? Okay, it's on page 27 of my book. Okay, there you go. There shows a few things. The Camp Palmer School is on the other side of, I gotta get my glasses on here. Sorry about that. See Coates Road? On there, it's right above the M in camp. Okay, on the other side of that was a school. In fact, it shows it there. Go back to the Pierre Marquette spur line, Rita. On the map, there's Camp Palmer. Go west. Right under Pierre Marquette, you'll see a couple buildings. There's your school. The post office is at the corner of Ferris on the northeast corner. Yep, nope, the other side of, now the other side of Ferris, right there. Nope, right there. That's the Barrettville store and post office. Okay, it's right in there. And remember, that track is concession 8. You'll see below it 7 and above it 9. The track came right down the road. It was a surveyed road, but it wasn't developed yet. Nobody was living on it. The farm above it and the farm below, their main entrance and their houses would have been on 7 or 9. County road or concession 8 was the laneway, if you wish, which is an official road, to get into the backs of their fields. So it was never, the 7 and 9 were improved. Number 8 stayed more of just a gravel dirt road. So on the proper road, that's where the spur line went. Okay. So you can see where Camp Palmer is down there. You can see all the little buildings for the people to live in. There was a barracks there, all those buildings right in where, okay, that's the whole town, and one person owns most of that farm right now today, at least the stuff that's still standing. All right, Sawmill Town, we've discussed those already. All right, we're going to bounce around a little bit. On page 28, Rita, there's no picture anyways, but Edgar Mills, if we go back to can we go back to the town map? Have you still got it? But Edgar Mills was another sawmill town. On County Road 15, it takes a jog. Okay, and it takes a jog from where we were at. County Road 15 goes up. You're going to King Street. Remember King Street? We discussed it at the start. It'd be a little higher yet. A little bit more. Okay, on 15 straight up. Follow 15 straight. Okay. Now there you go. There's King Street. We're we're about as north as we're going to get on our actually we are as north as we're going to get on our small town tour. What you'll see through here is the Greenway. It's not the Chrysler Greenway. It's the railroad track that goes from Essex to Amherstburg. If there's a name for it, Rita will have to tell you later. I don't know what it is, unfortunately. But along there, you'll see that where it says King Street. We're on County Road 15. This is the stretch that goes from North Malden up to the County Road 8 to go across the county. This is that last piece before it ends in up out of the town, right to the town north town line. So anyways, it's still a town. Now if Rita moves over, if you follow that little King Street just there, whoop, you just about had it. Okay, I'll bring it up. Okay, see the end of the line, the property there, right there. Okay, don't move that, leave it right there. That, as you can tell, that's sort of the end of King Street. All right, on that line, you'll notice how straight that line is and how goofy the farm behind it is. Okay, on the, don't move your arrow, but immediately east of that, her arrow, that's where the sawmill and that equipment, everything to do with the sawmill was just east. As you can see, the little hamlet was on the west side. The county or somebody along the way, it probably would have been the county and maybe North Colchester Township, when it was its own community, decided they would move what is now County Road 15. The main road is where Rita has the arrow. The new road is the other end of King Street, where you see County Road 15 going through. So that road that says County Road 15 was not there. The main road was where the arrow is. So all the industry was on the east side. The town was on the west side. In that town today, you can find every building. It had a train stop. Mainly, why is it there? It's a sawmill town. Train stop to get the product, the trees, the wood out. So what do you have around there? We have a general store. It's still there today. It's not a general store, it's a house. The post office is still there today. It's a house. I told you before, you can't have a train stop without an inn. You need a drink. So did all those workers in the sawmill. And an inn has a hotel. It's still there. It's a barn today, but it's still there. There probably was nothing more as a train station than the hotel. That was probably did everything. The hotel was the hotel, the inn, the train station, all of it at once. But that building's still there. The school is north. We don't need to go up there, Rita, but the school was located north of the Greenway or the tracks. The school's still there. It's been built around a little bit, but if you know at our school, like all the 1880 schools were the same around here. If you know what they look like, you can definitely see the school in this building. But we don't have a picture of it at the moment, and that's okay. But anyways, there's your town, and your highway basically was the train. That was the best road, was the train, and and you can also see a pond there where the steam train would have picked up some water. And like I say, you had your industrial area to the east of where the road was. That's your train. The King Street went right through down to the end where the sawmill was, and your industry would have been on the east side of that road. Unfortunately, whatever reason, we moved the road. Okay, we moved the road, so the main intersection at the time of Edgar Mills, or Edgar Mills had many names too. It was called Edgar Mills, or Kilroy. But anyways, the main intersection was where the arrow is, because that County Road 15 wasn't there. Industry east, the town proper west. Okay, let's move on. We'll head back down Walker Road. Walker Road to, yeah, keep going. We'll let you get over there. Where we're headed is a place called Leslie's Corners, or Verreeker on Walker Road. County Road 11 is Walker Road. Now, Verreeker or Leslie's Corners had the post office. Okay, Verreeker, Leslie is where you turn to go on the pike. You come down Walker Road out of Windsor. It's the first bend. You either take the bends into Harrow or you turn on the pike to go into Amherstburg. Okay, you can also turn there to actually go on to Smith. Right there, yep. You can actually go on to Smith Road, which is the town line, the township line, just like the Armour is at the other end, okay? We're not going to show it, but you'll also find a concession 8, but it won't join up to the other part of it because the marsh area doesn't allow it to go through. Okay, but there it is there. And there's a nice building block house on that corner. That may have been the post office. I won't tell you that for sure. But it was called Leslie's Corners. Verreeker goes actually into Amherstburg down the pike. You'll notice again, all the houses are very close together. We won't go over there, Rita, only because you're not showing that. You can't show that on the map anyways, but that's okay. The people lived along the pike, just west of the Smith Road, along the pike. But Leslie's Corners was only the post office. Her arrow was, I believe, right on the house, which I believe was the post office. But as you travel down the Smith Road, that was the actual industrial part of Verreeker. Verreeker was a Black community. Okay, I don't know if you can get it on there. It's very hard to find. There's a creek that goes through there, crosses the Smith. It also crosses in Harrow. It crosses crosses behind where's it cross? The one that goes by the Cargill. It goes anyways. There's a creek that goes across there. At the creek is probably that Cayuga drain extension. It doesn't matter. At that creek, the people of color had the no, down Smith, where you were. Yeah, just down further. There's a creek that goes through there somewhere. Anyways, at that creek, the people of color had a mill, a grist mill. But the Vreeker sort of goes from that creek all the way up to the 7th or up to Leslie's Corners and the Pike Road that was officially called where the settlement of Vreeker was. Okay, the people lived, but like I say, it stretched all the way down to that creek that went through there. Today, it's just almost it's a drainage ditch, which is almost dry. At the time, Harrow was a full marsh. Harrow was underwater. It's a marsh. It's all quick stand. We can't build a building taller than 3 floors or it's going to sink because it was a marsh. And Vreeker was on the edge of the marsh. It was on the west and the north of the marsh. That's why it was there. Again, what we give the people of color? We put them in the marsh. Not nice, but that's what the white folk did. Yeah, you can have all that land. We don't want it. So you can have there, you can live there, be happy there. Well, like I say, they had at least a grist mill. We have evidence of that. We have actually newspaper articles about it, but no pictures. And we'll continue on or we'll never get through. I've already discussed Gesto. It's not really a lost community, but it was set up because of the 4 sawmills. We put in a blacksmith shop. It had a store. A second store was open. Sturdy houses were built. A church, a Methodist church, which is now a private house, was put in. What was unique there? There's a creek going north and south that crosses Gesto. John Campbell arrived. He in the 1860s, he bought a 200-acre farm. A few residents were already living there, like I said, because of the sawmill and so forth. In the beginning, the name of Gesto was New Darlington. Okay. Immediately to the east of the town, there's a creek that goes through. It's called the St. John Creek or St. John River. That 200-acre farm north, yeah, you can see it. I think it's right under where my name is on my picture anyways. If you move over a little bit further east. Okay. Somewhere right in there anyways, there's a creek that goes through. It's a St. John Creek. The Catholic church or seminary, or I'm not sure the proper term, I'm sorry, but the Catholic church community of Essex County bought a 200-acre farm centered on that creek, just north of their Johns Creek. It says that right there. They bought that 200-acre farm north of that. There is a creek that goes through there, okay, people. And they bought that 200, maybe the 400-acre farm, but they bought at least 200 acres of it for a Catholic retreat. They never really got it developed. The Catholic retreat today is in Oxley. So they still have their retreat. It's not where they initially wanted to do it on the I said St. John's, on the Johns Creek there, but that's where it got its name from, the Catholic community. And that was supposed to be their retreat, just like we now have Gesto for the United Church, and which is Methodist, Presbyterian, and Congregational, is United Church of Canada. They have Guestwood Camp, and that was a sawmill, as I said. So it was Francis Sweet had the sawmill there. I told you earlier it was a Sweet sawmill. Okay. The area around around Johns Creek was called Plusville. Okay, Plus and then Ville. So that was the area there where the Catholics were going to put their retreat. Okay, as far as I know, the church didn't even get built there. We have no any kind of record or picture of anything of Catholic church being built there. The Methodist church is in Gesto. You can see it today. All right, let's go to let's go back all the way back to Smith's Road at the other end, at the west end. Okay, hey, I like that one. Drainage. All different drains. Okay, we're going back to the Smith. Where have you got? Okay, all the way down, keep going. We're going to go right down to the water. Boy, you're very helpful today. I love this. This is great. Yep, we have to go over, and then it goes over. So County Road 41, okay, there we go. All right. I think we have to move up just a little bit. People know that road as the Meadows. That'll do her. Okay. People know that is the Meadows. It's a county road, as you can see there. And we needed a post office in that area, not for a town, not for a community. We needed a post office for all the farmers in that area. Okay, the post office was called Comet. Now, Comet moved. We had a school there. You can still see the red 2-story school building. It's got the girls' entrance, the boys' entrance, and you'll see that along County Road 50, where the school went. It's not exactly on the corner, but we don't need to worry about that, Rita. Okay, but Comet was started the water. We'll pop down to the water now. Okay. Comet could have been there 1 year. It could have been as high as just leave it there. It's okay. It could have been all the way up to where we just left, which was concession 4, where our town line sort of goes over to the Smith. That's the last spot Comet was. Occasionally I watch the channel. Well, I watch the channel for weather and the news, and they show Comet on there occasionally. Not so much now that we have Harrow with the federal weather station, but Comet showed up there a few times. Comet is not named after something that's in the sky. It's named after that nice white collar that darn, me and my names. The Boston coach. Nobody likes, or everybody likes except anyways, I think you know who I mean. Hit his dog blue. Anyways, he always wore a big collar. The Comet collar factory made those. It was named after that. Nice big white Don Cherry, named after the big white collar Don Cherry wore. The Comet collar. And that's where it came from, not something in the sky. So Comet was all along there, and it went as far east on the County Road 50 as the schoolhouse. Okay. So that was Comet. Basically, it was there for a post office, period. Whatever farmer took it on, he'd have it on his front porch or in his parlor inside the front door. He'd get about $100 a year back in the 1880s, which was a pretty good amount of money to run the post office. So after you got tired of 2 or 3 years of having every farmer in town track in their farm mud, I'll leave it at that, into your front part of your house, you said, the heck with this, it's not worth the money, and somebody else took it over. Okay. But where that is at County Road 50 is very unique. South Colchester Township was dry. The town of Harrow wasn't. Harrow proper at the time, but County Colchester South was a dry township. So if you're a tavern operator and you want to serve people, the best place to be is on that town line. We called it the Meadow Inn and Tavern. That's the only reason it was there. Okay, right there. That's the only reason, because now all those little cottage communities and all those farmers you could see could travel there to Comet if you wish, because Comet was all up and down that road, whichever person had the post office, to have their drink legally. But it was on in the Amherstburg side in Malden. It couldn't be on this side of the road. Okay. The last owners of the Meadows and Sprucewood, the owners of Sprucewood, wished they were on this side of in the town of Essex, more so than Malden Township, but they were on the other side because we were dry. The Portuguese community center in Harrow was not in Harrow at the time. Harrow didn't grow that far out yet. It was dry. So the people that had events there, my cousin had a wedding there, and he got married in the very early 1960s. All my family was there. Of course, my uncles were late 20s, maybe just 30. Well, they sort of skedoodled down to the Harrow Hotel and got their drinks and sort of smuggled them back into what is now the Portuguese Club, because they couldn't legally have liquor in the Portuguese Club at the time. And it wasn't the Portuguese, it was not the Portuguese Club, okay? So even some of the communities started because of something like a liquor law, all right? Many of them started, like I say, industry, sawmill towns, railroad town stops, okay? McGregor built up for that. It was the confluence of the Chrysler, what's now the Chrysler Greenway, and the one that we saw Edgar Mills on. They met there. So McGregor built up because it was a change in the diamond for the trains. So you'd get off there and hop on the one going east and west, or you get off the east to west one, hop on the one going north and south. That's why McGregor's there, where it is. Okay. For no other reason, it could have been anywhere along there. All right. So let's go follow the Gore into down into the village of Colchester, but we'll be on the Gore. This is working fantastic there. We didn't plan this, but you put on there, it's really working. Okay, so yes, let's go. We're going to go right down to where we're at there, because that should be the Dun, running into the Dun Road, running down into Colchester. Now the village of Colchester, while you're there, we'll take a look at that. The village of Colchester was planned on 3 200-acre farms. So that was the plan. It was a planned town. Okay, it was the oldest planned town in Ontario this side of Kingston. It and Newark, which is now Niagara-on-the-Lake, were both planned and started in 1792. Long before that, Colchester had a cemetery. It's the one now for the Anglican Church, right down by the water. That cemetery was already called an old abandoned cemetery when the town was surveyed in 1792. What is unique about this area, it's the last place a boat could stop at a safe harbor before it went up the Detroit River. The Detroit River on the American side of Boblo Island was rapids. You could not take a boat along there. You had to take a boat between Boblo and what is now Amherstburg. That's why Fort Malden was so important at the time. We also had an island just off where the Colchester Reef and Lighthouse is today, was an island called Sheehy Island. All right. The boats would stay there or dock. You had a cemetery. Why? You could bury the sick before you went up the Detroit River proper. But if we look at that and we go north of that, back up to on the Dun, so that the town went between the Dun and Erie. The Dun was the main street. Erie Road opened a lot later. The Dun was the main street going into what is now Harrow. Erie Road was not there. It wasn't developed. So the Dun Road almost follows an Indian trail. The Indian trail goes at what is shown right now as the top part of the map, at least is what I can see on the map. All right, so we'll go right up to the, where are we at there? Yeah, go straight up. The village of Colchester is over 200 years old, and it still hasn't filled its land. Okay, only 1/3 of the village of Colchester is developed. The other 2/3 is still farmland. what happened. Harold came along. But let's go straight up, right up to the gore. There we go, right to that corner. What do we see there? A whole bunch of little settlement again, right? There we are. Perfect. There was a school. There was behind the school was on the south, would be the southwest. There was a schoolhouse. And behind it was a lake. And you could actually put your little aluminum boat in there, which would have been a little wooden boat at the time, and canoe or a canoe and go around the lake. That body of water is still there. It is south of the gore. There's a little one north of the Gore Road. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, it's south of it. It's very hard to find on that map anymore, but it's there. But anyways, it was behind the school. Along that road, the Gore Road, got surveyed in 1792, but that Gore Road is probably another 500 or 600 years older than 1792. It starts just south of Chicago. Yes, Chicago. If you go into Navy Park, there's a sign about it. It's called the Sauk Trail, but it starts just south of Chicago and goes all the way to some weird community, little community called Oxley. Now, why did people want to go all the way from south of Chicago to Oxley? I don't know. We can discuss that, but that's another 2-hour discussion. We won't worry about that right now. Anyways, the community built up there because that was the main road. County Road 50 was built. That was the front road along the water for all the farms. The farms, that was their frontage. Transportation was the water. I just mentioned the Gore Road. It was no more than a footpath, wide enough maybe for a cart, and definitely not flat, not like today. It was a very miserable place to be going on a cart. All right, but it's easily 500 years, if not a lot older. Okay, but anyways, it was built up. The community there was called Pot Lake. Sometimes you'll see it on a map as Pot Leg, as in, like, think of a pirate with his stick for a leg, because there was a gentleman, I guess, that lived along there that had a stick for his leg, just like you see in the movies with pirates. Okay. And anyways, it was Pot Leg or Pot Lake. So we'll go with the Pot Lake. The Pot Lake I just discussed was behind the school, and it was shaped like a pot. But along there, we had, believe it or not, we had 3 millinery stores, hats, dresses, all for ladies. We had 2 shoe stores, or people that made shoes, right? Repaired them, made them, sold them. And we had a community. We had a store. The people of color on the corner of the Gore and Ferris Road, they had their church. Who was the most famous person that would have attended that church if wasn't the Reverend there for a time? Josiah Hansen, Uncle Tom. And again, that's another whole story, and I've written a book about it. Not to push my book, but that's where you'll find the information, or go into the Black Museum in Amherstburg. They'll tell you all about it. Or of course, Ayers in Harrow, our own history society. But anyways, at that corner, they had it. Where did the Black community live? If you can go down to the St. Mark's Cemetery, the Blacks were very welcome at first in the Colchester area. They settled there. And then they were eventually pushed out into the back part of the village. Remember, I told you only 1/3 even today, and it's still not even full. The Ogden is not a finished road. You can't drive it from Dunn over to Erie, but that's as far as they got back filling their village. And it never did, the back 2/3 never did get developed so much. But St. Mark's Cemetery is there. A church used to be there as well. It served the Black community. There's many tombstones in the older part there. They were actually people that came as slaves in the older part. Of course, the church is still using the newer part. St. Mark's Church that was there in Community Center burnt. That's where the newer part of the cemetery is. And you'll see it. It's a nice grassy area. Well kept up, by the way. You may not notice that at the back part. But it was there. It burned down and they moved into the village proper. But on the other side of that, on the east side of that road, is where Josiah Hansen lived, was the Black community. They got pushed out of town. I am not going to get into why they were pushed out of town, and that didn't change until the 1967, and people that know something terrible happened in Detroit at that time. And that sort of cleaned up that area here as well, and I'm going to not mention it again. But anyways, the Black community was there. 1792, when the people of color started coming into the area, they were settled there. And in that area, they were welcome. They had the skills. The community of Colchester, they were people, town people, city people, dignitaries. They didn't know how to hold a hammer and build a house. They didn't know what end of an axe to hold. Okay. But they were very happy to pay the people of color to build their houses, clear their land, set them up in the town. So they were paid, and paid a nice wage, a decent wage. They were welcomed. That changed much later, believe me. When Hansen was there, it started changing. They started getting taken advantage of. And I won't go into any more, but Josiah Hansen did try and purchase a farm, which would have started his community here instead of in the Chatham-Kent area where it is today. And so anyways, the Pot Lake was part of their settlement as well. Okay. It was not black. It wasn't white. It was mixed. It was the Pot Lake. Colchester became a place where the people of color were not welcome, period. Okay. We'll continue on, or I'll be here forever. So Pot Lake is centered around the Gore and the Dun. It went all the way over to Ferris, and it went, well, you can see how the houses sort of drizzle out, the house lots drizzle out as it gets towards Erie, but it would have gone no further. You can still find maps with Pot Lake or Pot Lake on it. It's something, when the amalgamation came, it's one of the few things that got changed on a map. It sort of finally got deleted, if you wish. They didn't like that name, but other than that, like, we still got 3 or 4 Victoria streets and 2 or 3 Erie streets, and I don't know how many Maple streets. And Ferris is got to be one of the weirdest streets, because we have it on both sides of Walker Road, all over the place. So, and I believe it's McCain Side Road. I think it's that one. Anyways, not McCain. Anyways, one of them is one road. As soon as it gets up to Camp Palmer, it changes to Ferris, which isn't Ferris, because we have Ferris here. We have our street names all mixed up. You get the point. But one that did disappear was pretty much any reference on any maps, local maps made, not maps other people use, of the Pot Lake. All right. I've gone through a lot of places, mentioned a lot of towns, and I think you get the point. We're going to pop up to Harrow. Nope, we lost our map. We're just going to finish here. I'm going to finish in Harrow. I mentioned a couple things. We want to show that. Yep, just right there. Nope. Bring it down just a little bit so we see less of the south, a little bit more of the north. Up to the 3rd. If we can show up to the 3rd, and there, that does it. And maybe you can slide the map east just a little bit. No, east. Oh, yeah, east. Slide the map east. I want to show more west. That's the way. There we go. Okay, there. Perfect. All right. Can everybody see where Walker Road is? Okay. The curve, Walker Road. There we go. Now, go down to the corner of the 3rd. Go all the way over. No, okay, go west. Keep going. No, don't move the map. Leave the map there. Put the map back. Thank you. Just move your arrow. Oh, you got to go a little bit further. There, now we got it. So move your arrow from Walker Road all the way down. Keep going. Nope, west. Go west. Walker Road west. Sorry, people. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right, a little bit more. Right, there we go. Okay. Now let's go down to County Road 20. South. Don't move the map. Move your arrow. 20. Now take that all the way back to Queen Street. All the way back. Now go north back to the 3rd on Walker. There we go. As far back as the 1816, 1817, right after the War of 1812, I told you the black people quickly learned in the South that if they escaped to Canada, they would be free. Many, many, many of them, because of Fort Detroit and Michigan was a free state, came up and crossed into Amherstburg. I mentioned that a trail went from Amherstburg to this area called the Negro Purchase. I just showed you the Negro Purchase. A lawyer named James Wood, pushed very hard by his daughter, bought that plot of land and made it and called it Hope Town. We have a Hope Town. We have a New Canaan. We have several other names across Essex County named after Bible type names or freedom names. I'm free, Hope Town, the land of hope. Okay. I just showed you that area. It was officially surveyed in 1824. So they say Harrow was called Hope Town. That's all. There was no Harrow. This was swamp land. Okay. Harrow came a little later. Unfortunately, it creeped into Hope Town because the Hope Town survey never got registered properly. If you go back into the, if you come back, Rita, over all the way back to the corner where we start, yep, that became known as the Matthews Settlement. The Matthews Settlement, and don't move, but the Eiler Settlement are only settlements. That's where a group of people or a family located and sort of spread themselves out. There was a Reverend Matthews there where the arrow is pointing. The arrow points sort of northwest. There was a church there. There is a cemetery back in there. It's buried under the ground. It was bulldozed in. The school for that community is right under the arrow. The school had a bit of a controversy. I'm not getting into that. That's another whole couple hours. It was the last black segregated school in Canada. And it closed, and when it finally closed, the people of color were moved into what is Essex Junior School, which just got Essex Senior School. Harrow Senior, I'll get it right yet. They were moved into Harrow Senior when Harrow Senior first opened. All these little schools all over Colchester Township closed up and were amalgamated there, including the one in Colchester Village. But that was the last one brought in, not because it was color. There was other concerns. I'm not getting into it, but it was also the last black school and segregated school in Canada. That wasn't good. But anyways, that was Hope Town. It was purchased and settled for the people of color, the Negro Purchase. The settlement in Colchester, the settlement in New Canaan, Pleasant Valley, and the other ones I showed you were not purchased. They were just put there. And then later it was surveyed and became a proper type community, but it was not a purchase. Okay, this land was purchased for the people of color. That's what's very important about this one, Hopetown. And from there, Harrow opened up. All right, so I'm going to conclude on that. We've gone through a lot. I don't know how long, probably an hour or an hour and a half. But those small communities are very important. They're there because of a dock. Okay, they're there because of which is transportation, train, car, you name it. I think there's a couple other pictures we didn't show. If you want to show them, you can. I'll talk about them, quickly talk about them as I close up here. There's many reasons for a town. I think I've explained most of them. Comet, if you wish, because it was very close. We had a law for drinking. Oxley Beach was the end of that trail. There was a Native Indian community there. From there, the trail continues on to Fort Erie and Niagara on the Lake. Okay, but yeah, it's sort of weird, but it stopped there. Again, you can see from this picture what a nice port it made. That Methodist church is gone. It's just a green field now. To the main road is where that stairway or whatever that is coming down from the church. And on this side is the Catholic retreat, which used to be a hotel. Okay, but that was a planned town in the 1840s. It was planned out. It was called Oxford, but we already had an Oxford in Ontario. So when they went to get their post office, they couldn't have another Oxford. It changed to Oxley. All right, but that was a planned town, but it was centered on an old Native Indian community. There are many of them in our county, or even in our town, and that's another. They were Native Indian villages. They were more summer places, so obviously they never got a post office, but they were never really much of anything. They came here, they farmed, they were here for the summer. In the winter, they moved on to their hunting grounds. But we did have bears and antelope and whatever, beavers and moose and everything you hunt. We had them down in this area. Okay, there were bears here. There's a picture of Camp Palmer. Okay, obviously the interior of one of the buildings where looks like they might be making cedar shakes there. There's another picture of Camp Palmer. Oh, maybe we'll get up there. It's a little hard to put the pictures up. I'm not doing it, Rita is. It's just when I tried doing it, it didn't work so well in this presentation. There you go. You can see what kind of mess it was in the area. And yes, it's still pretty much swampland in that area. Everything was moved by rail. Now the rails were wood, by the way. They weren't steel. And the wood was capped with a little piece of steel to stop the wood from wearing out. And as soon as Camp Palmer disappeared, so the spur line, every sawmill up the line would have had some kind of tram and wooden rails to get it to the train. Not so much Hiram Walkers when you went further north, like the Guestwood area. They went on to the one that went into Amherstburg by Edgar Mills there. But they had a tram wooden rail tracks with some kind of tram that might have been pushed by a horse or pulled by a horse up to the main track. Okay, this one was actually a spur line come in that the train could run down, but it was wood with a steel top. And then like I say, the train would come in, get the product, it'd be a light train and go back out. But these towns were essential at the day, whether they were industry, whether they're there for, a lot of them were there for a dock. I didn't discuss Little Essex. Little Essex is at the end of the Arner where it meets Lake Erie. It's a cottage community now of Little Essex. It was a dock. And yeah, right there, that's good enough. Okay. It was the dock for all the farmers along the Arner town line. And that was Little Essex. Cranfield Dock was the name of the dock. It had some fishing. There was some lake fishing boats out of there, just like they have in Kingsville today. And yeah, there, like I say, there was these little ones along there. We can go up to the Arner again. Why? County Road 20, a main road, and the town line. Okay, it was based on the town line. Most of it was on the other side, on the Kingsville side. What was unique about here, and don't move over, it's okay. But at the where Cedar Creek crosses County Road 20, the other way if you wish, but don't move, stay there. There we had a sawmill, and that sawmill was operating there in 1812. So the early 1800s, around that time period, there was no reason, if you had a little bit of money to get your logs sawed, that you had to build a log house. Okay. The store that's there today that is now closed because of a gasoline problem, the original store was due south of that on the other side of the road. And I believe it was run by the Wright family. Okay. But that's the Arner town line. It's the Arner Corners. Why? The Arner is the Arner settlement. The Arner family were settled along there. Now between there, on the most of it was on the Essex side of the Arner town line. If you want to go up from Arner, okay, Arner sort of ended at the Greenway or the tracks. So if you go up there, all the way up to County Road 18, or you can just follow it up, or concession 7. Most, again, on the Essex side of it, there happens to be a heritage village buried in there today, but there was no village there. Everything there was moved in. That was the town of Elford. The church itself was on the other side. It wasn't even a town. It wasn't even a hamlet, but it had a post office. It came all the way up. Pleasant Valley was just off of concession 4 on that line. And so anyways, it came all the way up to what is County Road 18 today. And it's just a lot of light industry along there. Okay. Today there's a heritage village at the corner of, yep. Okay, there's a heritage village. In there is the Alfred Church. It got moved. It was on the other side of, it was on the Kingsville side, up about the 6th concession. Okay, but the heritage village is important. Why is it important you go there? And it's because a lot of the community, a lot of the buildings got preserved from all of the towns, the current towns in Essex County got preserved there, moved and preserved, as opposed to the wrecking ball. There was no town there. Alfred was a bunch of light industry all along that road, which happened to have a post office and a church. Why? Because we needed one up in that area for the people, the farmers. Okay. So all the buildings there were moved in. It needs a few more buildings to make a complete town. As example, a fire hall and a tavern or an inn or a hotel, whatever word you want to use. It is the home to the largest auto museum in Canada. And you can see cars that were built in the 1800s. And not by the big three, by the way. They weren't there in the 1800s. All right. So it's very important. They have a nice 1950s style restaurant in there. Why I'm promoting it is because you just took a tour of our small communities. I wrote a book. It's got over 50. I never did count them. It's got over 50 of these small lost communities. And you will find the buildings, many of those buildings from those communities. The only place you'll see them is at the Heritage Village. And it's a nice stroll around a beautiful little town. It is not a private club. It's a registered museum with the Ontario Museum, and it is run privately by a board. There's the club part that started it. The club is folded. It's gone. Okay. It's a registered museum open to everybody. Anybody can become a member of the Friends of the Heritage Village and help as volunteers. Anyways, thank you for this. Thank you very much. I'm going to sign off, put it back to Rita. There you are. Hey, Rita, thank you very much. You did a super job with the map. That was fantastic bringing that in.
Thank you for your patience, Chris. And for those who are viewing tonight, I learned a lot from this presentation. I'm hoping you did too. And on behalf of the town of Essex and the Heritage Committee, I hope you have the opportunity to explore some of the places we discussed today. Happy Heritage Week, and we hope to have more of these talks. Bye now.